There's two ways to screw up profit. It's essentially, either I'm not getting the rates right, the math, or I'm missing the mark on the resources in my estimates, meaning labor, material, etc. This is a visual. At the top, I have profit, but the only way I'm going to have profit is this says, it's clipping off a little bit, but this says rates, and this is resources. I could have done all the work of establishing my rates and what it costs me to be in business, what I have to charge per hour and all of that, and have perfect on-paper math. But if I bid a job for 100 hours and it takes me 150 to complete, what happens?
Lose money.
You lose money. Amen. Most contractors don't struggle with this one as much because it's a little more visible, that assuming you're tracking time and that kind of thing, but it can still get you into trouble because I'll just share one example of how this one can happen. An owner or operator hires their first foreman and starts like doing bids through the day instead of at night and leaves the job in the hands of the new guy, right? Well, guess what they're still doing when they're bidding those jobs? As if they were on site every hour of the day. What does that mean? It's taking more time to get the job done in reality than what I'm bidding in the estimate. This is one example of how we can screw this part up. Doesn't matter that I have perfect on paper math over here to establish my rates. And the inverse is also true. I could be really skilled and really good at nailing my direct costs, my resources, labor, material, equipment on every bid. I could be extremely efficient at that, be very accurate at it, but if I'm not in tune, if I'm not up to date over here, same problem. For most contractors, this one is the one that's the hardest to stay on top of because you know how it is. Oh yeah, let's get new t-shirts for the guys. Oh, let me start this I need leads. Let me start this marketing campaign. The next thing you know, I'm literally spending my way into less than break even on what I'm charging on my estimates. And this one is a little more visible. It's a less of a tendency, if you will. The idea of solving the rates problem is just calculate my overhead recovery. That's the job to be done. This is the task at hand to fix and solve the rates problem. And that really is an exercise of establishing what's it cost me on average per man hour, direct costs, labor, payroll, wages, and payroll taxes, and that kind of thing, okay? And then it's like adding up my insurance, my utilities, my cell phone bill, my owner's salary, my marketing, my t-shirts for the guys, all of that stuff, and establish if I have 10,000 man hours that I sell. Let's say I have 5 guys that work 2,000 hours a year. That's 10,000 man hours that my company can produce, and I have to spread my overhead across that so I get an overhead dollars per hour number. And this is the one that's constantly shifting and fluctuating, right? And then when I add my cost and my overhead together, I have established my break even. I don't make a nickel until I charge more than the sum of these two. Then I add my desired profit margin, and I finally have my hourly rate. This one should be a fixed percentage, the profit. I know it's a little blurry, but the idea is it's the profit number. This, I don't want to be making 3% one day, 27% the next day, 12% the next day. You get what I'm saying? That should be a fixed rate that doesn't move. And the only way that that's going to happen is if this one is constantly in tune with what it actually costs me to be in business. If I'm ignoring this one or this is the one that's going to be Russian roulette. Might be profitable, might not. Let's leave the rates problem behind for a minute. We're going to flip over to the resources problem. And the way to programmatically solve the resources problem is I have to essentially take what I do, what I know from many years of experience, and build templates and production rates for that work. So if I do a patio or if I do a retaining wall, I need a template that essentially says, here's the labor that I need, here is all the product that I need, the aggregate, the product, the glue, the edge restraint, whatever it is that I have. And then the question is, well, what's your production rate? Up there, you can see how the production rate that I'm using on this screenshot is for a 500 square foot patio, I would need 1.65 ton of setting bed material. That's the production rate. So when I plug in 500, the result will be 1.65 tons. If I plug in 1,200, it'll use the same formula and increase the quantity because it's based on a formula instead of well, I just know from years of experience that's what I need. Now, someone that does not have those years of experience can just come in and plug in a measurement, and bingo, have the quantity of what they need. And you can do this for anything. You can do it for labor, you can do it for product, you can do it for anything that's not extremely custom and one-off, which most hardscape stuff you can build production rates for. You can definitely do templates. But when I have a library of templates and production rates, you can literally have your office admin build quotes for you. One of our SynkedUP users in New York literally has his 13-year-old son building quotes and sending them out to customers and closing deals, all because his dad built a whole bunch of a whole bunch of templates and production rates. He goes out and gets a consultation, does a consultation, gets the measurements, and comes home and says, hey, here you go, here's my notes, here's the templates, and there's the measurements. And he literally drags and drops in his templates, plugs in the measurements, and has the price. And that's what it looks like to take your years of experience and know-how and turn it into something that is as simple as plugging in measurements to get the price. Many times I talk to contractors and they're like, well, I don't know my production rates. And it's true, I know what you mean. Like, it's like, well, I don't know how many square feet can I get done per man hour. Like, it feels like a kind of a black box. Like, how do I come up with that number? Especially if I haven't maybe been tracking, maybe I'm tracking time on a shop clock on the wall for payroll, but I'm not tracking time between the patio versus the landscape versus the lighting. If I haven't been doing that, it can feel like, well, I have no way of coming up with the production rate. But what I want you to take away from this is you can at least build a production rate as a baseline with the way you estimate now. Well, start tracking so you can get it. But if you don't have that, the next best way of doing it is just turn the way you estimate today into a production rate. I'm just gonna build a hypothetical job. I'm gonna make one up for Mrs. Jones, 500 square feet job. Oh, well, how long would that take me? And take the same way you estimate now. Oh, 3 days. Okay, well, how many employees is that? 3 guys. All right, well, how many hours a day do I work? 10 hours. And I turn that into, oh, that's 90 man hours. Divide the 500 by 90 and bam, I got my production rate. You see what I'm saying? Like, you can do production rates even if you haven't been tracking. If you haven't been tracking, the best way is to take the way you estimate today and turn that into a production rate. That way, from now on, you can just say 800 square feet, 200 square feet, whatever it is, it spits out the correct quantity for you consistently. And it's not that I'm shooting high one day and low the next day. It's actually consistent. And when it's consistent, when I estimate the same way every time, I can start identifying, ooh, that hurt, that didn't go well, or hey, I'm always overbidding on X, Y, Z, and you can adjust the production rate, and you have consistency. And when you have consistency, you can actually make educated and informed decisions about what you need to change instead of just updating my guess. Start where you're at today. And I don't care if you're doing pen and paper, you can still do this. You can still track your time on pen and paper. You can still track your receipts in a job folder. Or you can do a spreadsheet for free and many hours of building the spreadsheet. Or you can do SynkedUP, pay to buy a product and do it in SynkedUP for sure. But I do not like the line of thinking of, oh, let me track some stuff before I do the thing. I would rather start where you're at. And let me turn the way I'm estimating the job today, whether it's a random guess or not, let me turn the way I do it today into a production rate and then immediately start tracking and sanity check whether the way I came up with that is actually correct. Because what I might learn is my production rate gave me 80 hours for the job, it actually took me 90. Tweak it, check the next one. And the more jobs you get under your belt tracking, the more accurate you'll get. And so essentially your history is informing your future. But don't let the lack of history be the excuse to not start. I would do a tandem. Take the way I'm doing it today, turn it into a production rate, and then, of course, immediately start tracking. And again, I am speaking pretty generalistic, generalities. It's like you could split hairs on any one of these things, production rates or the rates. You can totally go down go down splitting hairs. But I want to try to teach the principle so that regardless whether you're literally on pen and paper today, you can still apply, like I can come up with production rates. If I am on pen and paper, I can still track my time and compare 80 hours versus 90 hours and decide what I'm gonna do about it. It's not as automated, it's not as nice, it's not as real time, but I can still do it.